show. Start the show.
I-
Start the show.
It
Start the
started.
show.
It started. Unready as always. Welcome everybody to the Unready Room. I'm Dan Gunther. As you can tell, we're, as usual, very unready. With me, of course, Brandi, Jackola. Um, the phrase "as ready as we'll ever be" means something very different for us than it does
Yes.
for other people, I think.
Yes. In other words, we are never going to be fully ready, and that's okay.
Absolutely. It's our brand now.
It
We're
is.
at peace with that for sure.
Yes. In fact, I love it. I love that we're
Yeah.
unready because that takes
Yeah.
a lot of pressure off.
Well, just this week, StreamYard sent like an email and all this stuff. It's like, customize your layouts, make your show look really professional, blah blah blah. And I almost clicked on it and I'm like, no. Why would
It's
we
not our
do that?
brand. It's not our brand, man. This is what you get.
Oh,
And
this
if
is
you
what
don't
you
like
get.
it, if you don't like it, well, then you're probably not here. So
Yeah, very, very probably. Well, for those of you who are here, though, we really appreciate you. Thank you for joining us for our weekly discussion of new Star Trek. Of course, we're smack dab in the middle of Star Trek Picard Season 3. The episode is number 7 of the season, and it's called Dominion, which, that's cool. Yeah, really happy to have everybody here who's live, and of course everybody who is watching later. We really appreciate you as well. Thank you so very much. So, Brandi,
yeah.
Dominion.
Mm.
What did you think when you first saw that title? First of all,
I'm like, well, we're gonna find out more about these particular changelings, and I was right.
mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely learn a lot more about them. I think Vatic. Yeah, we'll talk about the show, of course, but Vatic, I think, steals the episode more than anything.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's get right into it. Um, People in the comments talking about Starfleet Academy. Yes, Starfleet Academy. That's a new show. It's coming. It's cool.
Mhm.
I'm excited.
I bet they're waiting until Star Trek Day, First Contact Day, rather, to give more details. What do you think?
Okay, that's the thing is oh man. So when Alex Kurtzman first came out a couple weeks ago and said there are big announcements coming, I'm like, okay, so yeah, Star Trek Day or First Contact Day will roll around and we'll get like release dates for Strange New Worlds and blah blah blah. That's cool. And then that happened like the next day. We got like release date for Strange New Worlds and vague release times for the other 2 animated series that are coming later this season. I was like, oh, okay. Well, there'll probably be like a new series announcement or something on First Contact Day. That'll be cool. And then just a few days later, they announce a new series, Starfleet Academy. And I'm like, okay, what's
Subverting
coming on First Contact
expectations.
Day?
I don't know. But they can't let that day go by without doing something, right?
Oh man, right? And just a few short days away. So I'm excited. Yeah, there's
Got
got
my
to be
First
something, right?
Contact Day shirt ready.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, yeah, I think there's more coming. I feel like there's a certain this is where my mind goes. I don't know if this is correct, but I'm staking this here as my theory. There's a certain segment of fandom right now that's like, Starfleet Academy, what the hell? We don't want that. We want this Star Trek Legacy series that Terry Matalas is talking about. And my brain goes to, they might have been planning to announce 2 series on First Contact Day, and they realized, due to the fan like, oh, we want this, that the Starfleet Academy thing would get buried. So they decided to give it little place in the spotlight before announcing the 25th century Star Trek Picard era continuation series on First Contact Day. I hope that's the case.
If you don't have Shaw on it, I am going to boycott.
Agreed 100%. And in the spirit of the Unready Room, I am turning my phone to silent now because that Voyager comm beep you heard was a text coming in.
Oh, I see. I didn't actually hear it, but okay.
Okay, it might not have been loud enough, but I definitely, I was like, anyway. Okay, so Star Trek Picard, though, we should talk about this episode because there's lots to talk about with regards to it for sure. We've got Titan on the run. They're hiding in scrapyards in the Chintaka scrapyard, which is cool, from the 2 battles of Chintaka in the Dominion War from Deep Space Nine. And I'm curious how many people out there heard the voice of Tim Russ and knew it was him before seeing him on screen. And me too, but it was literally like, I kind of started the episode and was like, okay, let's get into it. And there's someone talking. And it was literally like a quarter second before the camera went on. I was like, wait. And then it was Tuvok. And I was like, oh, that's so great. Well, great, but not great
Yeah.
because.
Yeah. My reaction was this. Chuck! That was my reaction. Sorry for everyone's ears. And the next moment I'm like, oh, he's probably a changeling, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My favorite part of this is like the double bluff, right? Where they do the Calto thing and he's like, yes, you beat me many times. And Seven's like, oh yay, it's Tuvok. And even like the background music, like the orchestra swells into the Voyager theme. And then Seven pulls another test and we find out that he is, of course, a changeling. But I don't know why. I just loved the fact that in my mind, they have like a live symphony orchestra just kind of in the pit of the bridge. And they're like, okay, it's Tuvok, Voyager theme. It's not Tuvok. Ominous music. Like the orchestra was fooled. I loved it. Also, just the idea of a bridge with an orchestra pit. I don't know why. That just really like right in front of the helm or something. I don't know.
There's actually an Eddie Izzard bit about music in movies, and especially horror movies, as it's always na 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 na, and all these cellos following you through this forest as you go to see what something's happening in the woods about a mile away. I'll go out and check, and I'll take a thimble with me.
Yeah, I think I remember that bit. That's a good one for sure.
It's great.
Eddie Izzard is gold, but I guess also with Ro having come on the show and her not being a changeling, like they had to kind of pull the opposite of that too. So yeah, I went in. I was fooled for a second too. Like it was again the music swelling. I was like, oh wow, we've got Tuvok back, and then the immediate, oh yeah, okay, no, never mind.
Oh, and the moment where he drops the Tuvok act before even changing, and just you see it in his eyes first, and then the smile start, and it's just brilliant. It's just brilliant, and I was so happy to see Tim Russ donning those ears again. That made me really happy, even if it was a changeling.
That's pretty cool, though. He got a paycheck for the day. That's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, seeing, I guess, like canonically, we know Tuvok's a captain now because they wouldn't change that, obviously. So that's cool. I think that's neat.
And we know that Tuvok's still alive.
Yes.
Because of what the changeling says. So they're not necessarily killing these people whom they're replacing. Not all of them. I mean, Side-Eye Guy, he definitely got killed.
Yeah.
But they're not doing that with everybody. Maybe to make them suffer, to torture them for information, probably, etc. Yeah. So at least we know, for the moment, Tuvok's still alive.
Yeah, and there was an interview with Terry Metalis earlier in the season when he was asked like how he chose the big bad of the season, and he was talking about how the conspiracy episode Parasites were a contender. He was thinking of them, but he didn't choose them specifically because if somebody's taken over by a parasite, that means they're dead. Generally speaking, unless you manage to kill the big bad thing, then whatever. But he wanted an enemy that could do this sort of thing but keep people alive. So I like that. Like, okay, that's kind of built in a little bit. That means he can use kind of whoever he wants, but they might or might not, but might still be alive out there somewhere. So that's cool.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
What else? What did I want to say about this? Oh yeah, okay. So there's a bit of a spoiler on social media, and I've been pretty good about avoiding spoilers and stuff, but everybody plug your ears for just as long as I have my hands up here if you don't want to spoil anything, but it kind of annoyed me. So spoiler here now with regards to Tuvok. Tim Russ tweeted that he's in a couple of episodes of Picard, starting with the one tonight, is what he tweeted. And I'm like, dude, don't tweet that. There we go. Okay. No more talk about spoiler. But anyway, I was a little annoyed that I got spoiled at. But anyway.
Tim!
Yep. Okay. What else we got going on here? Anti-Kolinar demonstrations. Who's protesting against Kolinar? Guys are jerks.
Well, people who think they know better than the Vulcans and their traditions and ceremonies and choices, and it's like, you know what? No, yeah, I don't think it's a great idea to purge all your emotions, but I'm a human being and I rely on my emotions a lot for a lot of things, especially in how to, interact with people. But that doesn't mean that I want them to stop doing this thing that I think is bad. It's like you have no business doing that. So are they hurting anybody else by doing that? No, they are not. They are not.
That's my thing.
So
yeah, like
just
people
stop
should
it.
be, as long as they're people are free to do what they want as long as they're not screwing up someone else's day. That's that's kind of, with some, there's some caveats and blah blah blah, but generally speaking, that's kind of my philosophy. And
yeah. Is everybody consenting and nobody's getting hurt? Okie dokie.
Perfect. For sure. And another Janeway name drop. I mean, she's been name dropped in at least half of the episodes, probably more at this point.
She damn well better show up at some point, or I am going to be seriously pissed off.
And the context that they keep name dropping her, it feels like is she CNC of Starfleet or something? Like every time it's like, we need to go to Admiral Janeway with this, or Chancellor so and such. It's like, when was the last time you were in contact with Admiral Janeway? Oh, she's very busy with the Frontier Day stuff. I'm like, is she coordinating the whole thing? What's going on? Is she the Starfleet commander?
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool.
Yeah. What? I don't know. I want to know. And I want to see her. I want to see her on screen, you guys. Not as an animated thing, although I love that too. But I want to see. I want to see my Kate Mulgrew, y'all.
Here. Absolutely. All right. Well, we've got this this theory that they come up with as to why they've stolen Picard's remains and why they want Jack Crusher so badly. This Picard doppelganger theory, this idea that they're going to create a perfect doppelganger of Picard for use in the Frontier Day thing somehow. And somehow Jack's his DNA, his blood is gonna help them create this more complete DNA, whatever, from the corpse. Are you buying this? Do you think this is the theory? Do you think this is what they're actually after?
Nope. I don't. And I don't exactly know why, except there is something that Data says.
Yeah.
About something about an anomaly or unknown entity. And now the Irumodic syndrome diagnosis is in question.
Yeah, we need to talk about that for sure. Yeah, the doppelganger theory, I'm like, they kind of came up with that, like, maybe. And then when they confront Vatic with it later, she is stone faced. Like, you could, if you were going surface level, read that as, oh crap, they figured out our plan. But I'm reading it as, like, I'm not giving anything away. Y'all are on the wrong path with that one. That's what I think.
Yeah, well, I think Vatic is amused by their theory as well.
A little
I
bit.
think
There's
she's
something in her
very
eye.
yeah, yeah. But she does the stone face so that they don't know for sure what she's thinking. So
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, when you're a changeling, you can do whatever you want with your face. You're not going to let something slip.
yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah,
I mean, I would assume.
I would think so.
We also, in the scene where they're talking about the Picard doppelganger, when they're first coming up with that, we get the start of what's going to be kind of the central thing in this episode, which is the crossing of moral lines, and Crusher starting to wonder, is she pushing against her moral compass here? A biological solution to this, possibly, which, you know, that's genocide, right? Crossing moral lines and engaging in that sort of line of thinking, I guess. So, yeah, kind of establishing early on what we're going to be dealing with in this episode. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Data, and including what he says about Picard and his the Irmotic syndrome diagnosis is in question, is the line there. And there's an anomaly, what was it, anomalous form inside Jean-Luc Picard is the wording. Related to
Yep.
the Borg, related to something else, what?
But if it's something related to the Borg, wouldn't they be able to figure that out?
You'd think so, but I don't
But
know.
maybe they could if they could scan the body, but they can't because Vatic has the body. Or maybe Vatic doesn't have the body anymore and she sent it off to head guy, which
The
literally
face,
just appears
according
as
to
a
the
head,
credit.
but is the face. So I just call him head guy because he's the head guy and he's just a head
I like
guy.
that. A dual meaning there. Yeah.
Yeah, head guy. This is what I do. Side eye guy, head guy is kind of my thing.
I like it. Yeah, I don't know what's going on in there. Anomalous form inside Jean-Luc Picard. Irmotic syndrome diagnosis in question. So that would imply, I mean, we know that it's not Irmotic syndrome in Jack. Something completely different is going on with him. But yeah. And the whole Jack thing we need to talk about at some point. But I'm just going to stick with Data for now.
Yes.
We've got Data and Lore fighting for control of this body, basically. And the last thing Data remembers is the scimitar and Star Trek Nemesis and all that sort of stuff, which makes sense because this is the version of Data that was transferred to B4, his memories and stuff in that movie. So he doesn't remember the Picard season 1 stuff that was way later. So one question that I kind of had, though, and maybe it's mitigated a bit by the fact that this isn't the Data that we see in Picard season 1, but does this feel a little ghoulish, what's happened to Data? Because in Picard season 1, he asked for Picard's assistance in letting him die, right? And I mean, that Data in Picard season 1 didn't have very many more experiences than Nemesis Data. Like, right, for him, that was pretty much right after, right? Although I guess he lived in that computer. I don't know. But like, this poor Data. Like, he just I don't know.
It is a little ghoulish, but at the same time, it's an interesting way to have Data back without, the complications of everything that happened after Nemesis.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of smart and an interesting way to do it. So I was actually impressed by that. And thankfully they made it, a more human colored body. So poor Brent doesn't have to be painted up again, because I really don't think that he wanted to do that again. And who can blame him?
Yeah. I love also that, so yeah, he's in like a golem synth body, basically the same as Picard's. And I saw this this meme the other day where Data was doing the beaming eyes thing, and Riker, I know Riker wasn't in that scene, he had been captured by then, but it's Riker and Picard standing off to the side, and Riker's like, "Can you do that?" And Picard's like, "I don't think so." Squints, he's like, "No, I think we're good." That's just so oh,
That's great.
and as a little side note for this episode, I'm kind of glad we're able to bring in some of the laughs like this, because I was going through things to pick for a nickname for this episode. There are not many laughs in this episode at all.
No, and really not any good Shaw lines that really popped, and so I
Yeah.
had to go with the Vatic line. So
Yeah, and I kind of went with a thematic line. I can't get my headphones to fit right today. There we go. Yeah, and I think the best, and we're jumping all over this episode here, but the best Shaw line was probably, and I didn't catch it the first time. I had to put subtitles on the second time I watched it, when he yells at Seven to blow the turbo lift as it's going towards the bridge. And I'm like, this guy's a good officer. Like, he was willing to, oh man. But anyway, that was my
yeah.
favorite Shaw moment, and it was like a heroic Shaw moment, which is cool.
Yeah, I've seen some memes going around about Shaw. In fact, Patrick sent me one of them where it was like episode 1 of season 3 of Picard. Who is this new a-hole captain? And
Yeah.
by episode 7, if you kill Shaw, I will boycott. I will sue Paramount Plus. And
Yeah,
I'm like, that's
absolutely.
me. That was me. That was my journey. Exactly. So
Episode 1, how dare you, sir?
yeah,
Episode,
and
yeah,
then
7, he's
yeah.
just like,
Well,
the best.
honestly, by episode 3, I was just like, I love you forever. Please don't die.
Yeah. So yeah, not a ton of Shaw in this episode, other than, yeah, that heroic moment for him, I think. Also, oh man, and again, jumping all over the episode, but when they captured Vatic, he's like, holy, we actually got her. I like that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it actually worked. What?
Mm-hmm.
He's not used to having to, you know, fly by the seat of his pants like that. Like,
Yeah.
the other people we know.
Oh, okay, so yeah, we've got this playing dead gambit in order to capture Vatic. We've got the Titan pretending to have been attacked and is adrift. And here's where Amanda Plummer as Vatic is just so good. I loved her little kind of rant before they go over to the Titan, where she says, "Do you hear that? The tick tock of the ancient clock." And like, she's just, oh, like it. I feel like another performer could not handle this and have it come
Mm.
across in the way that she does and still be compelling. Like, I feel like some other performers, I'd be like, this is too weird. I don't, but she just owns it. And I don't know how it works, but it does. She's awesome.
That's just the magic of Amanda Plummer.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what it is, she can make it work.
Yeah.
And I feel like they just kind of let her run free to see what happened and just watch the choices that she made.
It
And
feels like it.
yeah, and what they got was someone you will absolutely never forget in the history of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I would love to see the script and see what kind of like stage directions there are versus what she does and what makes it to the final screen. I think that would be really interesting to compare, just to see how much
Agreed.
is just her, just being her.
Yeah,
um
it's I found it really interesting too because they said they weren't gonna go over to the ship, the rest of them were like, and she's like, "He's right there! He's right there!"
I
She
can
just
almost touch
oh,
him. Yeah.
yeah, it was
uh
just that whole just her in this whole episode, just, brilliant.
yeah, definitely. um okay, Jack Crusher. What is going on with that guy? He's got telepathy, he's got almost telekinesis, but more like puppetry of another person. What is going on with this guy? What is happening?
Whatever it is, I say it's that anomalous thing.
Yeah.
That, I'm thinking that whatever that anomalous thing is in Picard, he passed it on to Jack, and for whatever reason, it's way more active in Jack, and I just don't know. I just don't know. I still don't know. I don't know.
Mm,
Still so much I
the,
don't know, but what's with the
yeah.
red eyes thing? I mean, what's with red? There's so much red, and what's the red door? And just I need
Mm.
answers, and we're running out of episodes in which to give them to me. And I hope that the next episode is not just one giant info dump. I really just give me something. For the love of God, just give me something. Give me a clue.
Yeah, and it feels like this episode is, and I'm not meaning to slight this episode, but it's a lot of setup. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of question raising. And I mean, those of you watching this stream have seen, like, it's just been question after what's going on with Picard's body? What's going on with Jack Crusher? What's this about? Um that's not a bad thing, but it can be a bit frustrating. So I get that a bit, but it's really making me want to tune in next week. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
when the episode ends literally on the line, and Jack, it's time for you to find out who you really are. It's like, okay.
But
Who are
yeah,
you then?
we've actually heard her say something similar in previous episodes, and still no payoff.
Hmm.
I needs a little bit of payoff. I needs it. I needs it.
Yeah. And I feel like I've seen a lot of reviews online saying this feels like the first half of a two-parter, just like Seal is saying here too, for sure. So, ah, now there's a whole bunch of little lines dropped throughout this episode, though. Vatic says something like, to Crusher, like we could commiserate over the fact that he was never really for you either, or something like that, or
Mm-hmm.
like something's going on there. Um, at the end, she says she's going to bring Jack Crusher where he most belongs. When she runs into Jack in the hallway, she says, "We're going to take you somewhere better than all this." And he's like, "What the hell does that mean?" And there's been kind of lines like that in previous episodes, or moments in previous episodes too, where the episode with Ro, Imposters, at the end, the changelings find him in the hallway, and they don't seem belligerent towards him. They seem like, "Oh, we've got you. We'll beam you out of here." And that's when he's like, "No," and attacks them all, right? But
Mm-hmm.
they didn't even, they like lowered their phasers, right? And they were gonna like take him away. So what's
Yeah, they want him alive. We know that much.
yeah,
They want him alive, and preferably undamaged.
yeah. But it
It
also
seems.
seems like they're expecting him to kind of be like, "Oh, yay, you're here for me." I don't know. Maybe I'm reading that wrong, but
No, I understand what you mean, and yeah, that's the thing. Whatever he is to them, it's something that they see as a positive. It's something that is going to win them this war that they think that they're waging.
Mhm.
and that will, whatever it is that he can do is going to destroy the Federation. And see, and here's the thing that I always come back to: when you have a group of people who are so dead set on destroying another group of people, okay, now you've done that. Now what? Do you think you
Mhm.
can just turn that off and live in peace with other people now? Or is that bloodlust going to continue across the universe to anyone who is a solid?
So
How
that's
many people will
interesting.
have to die
Yeah.
until you feel safe, until you feel like you're the top dog? But see, at that point, you'll only be the top dog because there is literally nothing else left. And
Mhm.
then will you be at peace, or will you turn on each other?
Yeah. Kind of semi-related to that is an interesting thread in this episode too that I thought a lot about while I was watching this, and the idea of blowback and unintended consequences and that kind of thing. Um, and warfare and what that kind of leaves, the scars that leaves. That's central to Vadic's story here,
Mhm.
where and there's a line, and I take issue with her line, and I think we're supposed to take issue with it, but where she says, um, "Don't compare the atrocities you committed to the warfare that we waged," or something like that. Like, you're elevating warfare to some high standard. First of all, I am not defending what Section 31 and this original scientist, whether she was named Vatic or something else, whatever she did and whatever Section 31 did, I'm not defending that at all. Of course, that was
Mm-mm.
heinous and horrible and created not just physically the person in Vatic that we have, but also emotionally and action wise. What she's doing is a direct result of all of that. But yeah, oh, the changelings never engaged in atrocities. Like, they released viruses that completely destroyed planetary populations. They enslaved entire races through the use of genetic manipulation and drugs, and like all kinds of stuff. So I feel like somehow we're expected sometimes to take that line on face value, that like the Federation committed these atrocities, we were just trying to wage a war. A, like, you were trying to wage a war, so shut up. And B, no. Like,
Yeah,
what?
exactly, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's always interesting because, that's the thing about someone like Vatic. She's the hero of her own story.
Mhm.
And so whatever she does, she's doing that from a point of, I'm going to make this universe better. And yet, why is your better the only one that can exist?
Yeah. And I mean, it kind of relates back. I feel like they could have brought in the whole idea of the changelings are gods, and the solids are all whatever. And like
Mm,
that might be where she's coming from too. But yeah, that just was it's disgusting on both sides. Like I said, I'm not defending anything that was done by the Federation. The
no.
virus initially against the changelings, of course, that was awful and that was terrible. Um, I do interestingly feel a little vindicated with this episode, because one of the things in the previous episode was Picard in the briefing, all high and mightily said, Starfleet delivered a cure to the Founder's homeworld. And I was like, no, they
I
didn't.
was like
Odo.
I was like, that's not how
Yeah.
that went.
I was like, no, they didn't. Odo did that. And I mentioned that in my Easter egg video. I was like, I think that was a little like rosy view of history they've got there, because that's not what happened. And I had a few people in the comments say, well, the Starfleet created the cure and Odo was working with the Federation. So, that it works. And I was like,
Mm-mm.
I didn't buy that, and this episode vindicates me a bit. Nuance matters. That didn't happen. In fact, if you rewatch Deep Space Nine, after Bashir creates the cure, he sends it to Starfleet, And Starfleet, as is mentioned in this episode, either Starfleet or the Federation Council votes not to give it to the changelings. That's like, in hindsight, it might look really good in history books to say the Federation came up with a cure and then gave it to the founders, which ended the war. But no, Odo ended the war by giving the cure to the founders against the will of Starfleet. And now after the fact, they're going like, wow, it's a great way we ended the war there. Like, nope.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, it was stolen.
Yeah, and Bashir and O'Brien had to steal.
Yeah. And then given to Odo, and Odo took it to the Great Link. And, you know, Odo wasn't Starfleet as far as I remember.
Nope.
So, yeah, Starfleet did not, in any way, shape, or form, except for Bashir creating it, and he was a Starfleet doctor, they had nothing to do with that cure.
And in fact, they actively tried to stop it being delivered to the changelings. So,
yeah. Genocide is never the answer, y'all. No matter which way you're looking at it, it's never the answer.
100%. Anyway, I was just like, thank you. I'm really glad that the writers actually like clarified that. And, you know, the kind of, from a broad perspective, looking down at the events and stuff, you could say it the way they said it, but like I said, nuance matters, and that's not what happened. And I think it's important for sure. So, yeah.
Agreed.
Thank you. The moral dilemma of this episode, of course, we've got Picard and Crusher. They have Vadic in custody, and they decide that she's too confident. She's got a plan, and they're in danger as long as she's here and as long as she's alive. And they're wrestling with this, you know, moral question: do no harm, but should we just kill her? Basically, is what it comes down to. I don't know. How did you feel about this scene?
Well, I think that it's a valid discussion, and I'm glad that Beverly was starting to feel that moral dilemma. You know, she is a doctor and she took an oath to do no harm, and yet her child is at risk. And so are all of the people that she loves, but it's mostly the mother instinct that is driving her to even consider doing something and crossing that line. You can tell she's troubled about it. Even when she and Picard are talking quietly, where Vadic can obviously still hear them, and maybe that was the point. Maybe they really meant to do that, is my guess.
Could be. Yeah.
At least I would hope that they're not that stupid after this many years. So, because Beverly said everything she told us she wanted us to know, and I think they're doing the exact same thing. Everything they're saying, they want her to know.
Yeah.
So interesting. But I think it was an inevitable discussion, and I'm glad that they actually had it on screen. And that they never got to that point where they decided that they needed to actually evaluate, you know, targeting someone on their biology, which is, you know, genocide.
Yeah. Stress-Free K makes an interesting point. So I think that it could hear, and it was a ruse. So what do you think of that possibility? That could be the case.
Oh, yeah. No, well, see, that's the thing. Whatever they were saying, they absolutely wanted her to know it. So they didn't play all of their cards, for sure. But I think they wanted to provoke a certain reaction, maybe. But they, you know, just put things in her head, I guess, is what their option was there. Because they knew. I think that they knew that at some point she was going to escape somehow.
Yeah. Well, escape she does with the help of Lore, who just wants the chaos, I guess. Which like when I first saw this episode, I was like, is that really all Lore is just like just evil, blah blah blah. And then, his first appearance, like this is probably the truest reflection of how Lore has been in the past. Like
Mm-hmm.
he just threatens to turn Crusher's little man into a torch. Like in Data Lore, when he first appears, he's just like ridiculously over the top evil, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess that's Lore. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is how you create a monster. Aside from the fact of, how Vadic was created. Well, I wouldn't say created. She already existed, but how the monster was created.
Yeah.
But yeah, because if we look back at the history of Lore, he's always been jealous of Data because Data got the love that Lore never did. And so generally when people are ignored or they see someone being pandered to, they tend to do whatever it takes to be noticed, and that usually means misbehaving. And so it probably just started out as misbehaving, didn't get the result that was wanted, and so he just kept amping it up and amping it up and amping it up until he became a supervillain. So that's it, and it's all because he didn't get loved as a child. That's basically Lore's thing.
Oh man, that's interesting that you put it that way, because like in that context, this episode is like, how many times do they talk about him as though he's not even there? Like he's saying
Mhm.
all this stuff, and then like Alondra LaForge is like, has Laura always been this arch? And they're like, he has a perverted sense of humanity, and Laura's just sitting there like, jerks.
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm right here. I can hear
Huh.
you. I can see you. I'm right here. Yeah.
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 Wow.
That
And then
enough of that will turn you into a supervillain, y'all.
like even at the end, when Lore is being as bad as he can be, and Geordi is talking through him to Data, and Lore's just
Mhm.
standing there like, really?
Yeah. Mhm.
That's terrible. Oh, I'm gonna rewatch it again with that in mind and like have real sympathy for Lore, which is
Yeah.
wild.
Well, see, that's the interesting thing is I've always had sympathy for Lore, even while despising his actions.
Mm-hmm.
Because I immediately sensed that because I kind of went through that myself as a child, except it was the opposite thing. It was the attention wasn't focused on me because I was so, quote unquote the stable kid, the kid you could rely on to do their chores and not act out and not have problems in school and all those things. Meanwhile, my sisters were the opposite of that, and they were both, cutting up and having problems and being, starting to go to therapy and all those things. And so and I just wanted someone to see me so badly, but I never went the Lore direction to do that because then I would be just like my sisters. Not that they were bad like Lore. I'm not saying that. but but it's just I understand how that feels when you just so desperately want some of that time and attention on yourself as much as it is on the people who were acting completely differently from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Poor Lore. Something I never
Yeah.
thought I'd say.
Yeah, well, you heard it here first, guys.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Vatic does take over the ship. We should, I guess, talk about the Jack Crusher, Sydney LaForge. First of all, telepathic flirting, and then the weird body snatcher fight thing going on there.
Mhm.
Um, I love at
Yeah,
the end of that, first of all, that she holds the phaser on him and is like
yeah,
frightened out of her mind. Because yeah. um again, I don't know what's going on there, so I don't know why I keep asking the question, what the heck is going on there? But
yeah. I don't think Jack knows. I don't think Jack knows either.
no.
Basically, he can automatically control other people. It's like he's okay. So if you've seen the movie Pacific Rim, it's kind of like that. It's like a guy
Hmm.
that's doing the movements, but the robot's actually doing the fighting. And so that's kind of what's going on here. He's formed a mental connection and he's taken over her body and helping her win this fight. So
Yeah. I do have to say that scene was well choreographed, well shot, and well staged.
Yes.
Like,
Hmm.
I feel like that would be a difficult scene to quickly convey to the viewer what exactly is happening. And I know like other shows I've seen have done not that thing, but similar things where you're supposed to kind of quickly understand that something weird is happening. And they don't always succeed. Like sometimes you're like, what the heck was that? This was like right from the hop, you're like red eyes, and then the way it was framed and stuff, and even him calling out as it's happening, roll, turn, raise, lift your gun, fire,
Hmm.
whatever. It's like, oh, okay, you really quickly kind of get what's happening, which I have compassion for directors that have to do scenes like that, because I feel like that's probably a tough thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really well done. And the perfect synchronicity of it really killed me.
Hmm.
I'm like, how long did they work? So,
Yeah.
but just really well done from both actors and what I'm assuming also stunt people. So, yeah, it was. You don't really think about it the first time you see it, but on repeated viewings, you start to notice those things and really appreciate what it took to get that shot.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Um, but yeah, they eventually do get control back of the force fields because Data takes over. And I really loved that line where he said, I am trying. Like,
Hmm.
oh, like we know you are, Data. You're doing good.
Hmm.
Just need some encouragement. And apparently Laura just needed some encouragement too, but nobody gave it to him.
Nobody ever, nobody ever gave that poor android a drop of love. Nobody.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, um, but yeah, Vatic does take over the ship, and we've got that Shaw heroic moment, like I said. Now, there's one moment where a bunch of changelings are coming out of the observation lounge, and I kept trying to pause it at the right moment, but I think you can't really, you never really see the face of the person, but he lifts his phaser and fires, and the camera angle changes, and I think the person is already vaporizing as the camera angle changes. I kept trying to see, like, was that somebody we know that got vaporized? I think it was just an ND crewman.
Hmm.
I assume they would have done that if they wouldn't have obscured it if it was somebody we were supposed to know, but I was
Yeah.
worried. I feel like if it was a Blu-ray, I could advance it frame by frame, but the darn service I watch it on, I just can't get that exact. But yeah, we
Yeah.
lost somebody on the bridge there, but I think it was just some guy.
Yeah. Just some guy. Because yeah, you can pretty much get. I mean, they don't do a lot of wide shots, but if you piece it all together, you can pretty much see all your bridge crew still
Yeah,
alive and kicking
yeah,
for now.
yeah. For now, and then yeah, we end with Vatic, just Amanda Plummer. She's amazing, addressing her ship. Hello, crew of the Titan. I don't know why.
This is your captain speaking.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then they go murder a bunch of crewmen.
Yeah. Yeah. Not good. So yeah, we end the episode like we said. She's saying to bring Jack Crusher where he most belongs, and it's time you learned who you truly are. And that's that last shot of her in the captain's chair on the bridge.
How
Frustrating.
much do you want? How much do you want to bet that in the next episode we still don't learn who he truly is? How much do you want to bet? How much you want to bet that they
Uh
leave that for the last two episodes? How much? How much?
Probably everything.
It's just, and I knew that. I'm like, oh, we're gonna get. No, we're not. We're not.
Darn it. Anyway,
Stringing us, stringing us along.
so I think that's pretty much it for the episode as far as what happens. I've got to say for myself, and this is kind of Actually, Brandi, I'll let you go first as usual. Usually we do it
Oh,
you
okay.
then me. So,
It
final
doesn't matter.
thoughts. Oh no, I think tradition is good.
Okay.
Final thoughts and rating, and that goes for the fine folks in the chat as well.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I'm really curious about your thoughts. Sorry.
thank you. No. Um, yeah, this episode ended pretty much as I suspected. I thought there's no way that Vatic is going on this ship and is not going to take it over. That I could see a mile away. So I'm just like, please don't kill Shaw. Please don't kill Shaw. That was my thought at the beginning. It's like, please just don't kill Shaw. Picard, sure. Shaw, I will mutiny. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
If I can just interject for a second, I really think that's the only reason we get that insert shot of Shaw on the ground and he kind of like groans and opens his eyes is like, okay, audience, he's not dead. He's not dead. Because like that would have been a typical thing in the turbolift. If the turbolift doors open and he falls out, like that's such a trope, right? And that
It
character's
is.
dead. But no, he's
Yep.
still alive.
They
Sorry.
teased us with a trope, but they didn't trope us.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for not doing that trope. Yeah, this episode was everything and nothing I expected. I know that's a weird way to go about it, but there were things that I definitely expected, and there were other things where I'm like, wait, what? So keeping the mystery going. Loved seeing Tim Russ again. I really, really did. I really, really did. And apparently, go watch him on the Ready Room episode if you want more Tim Russ. It's really fun to hear him talking about his time and just he tells a great story about when he started season 5 and they'd just come back from hiatus and he was just so tired and he'd just come out of his trailer and Brent Spiner driving by in a golf cart just stops and looks at him and says, "5th season, huh?" Yeah. Anyway, it's so much more funny the way Tim tells it. So go watch that episode. I really need some answers, you guys. I loved this episode. I found it was kind of action packed. I mean, there was talking to and stuff like that. And people talking about their feelings is never a bad thing. Emotional intelligence is necessary to be a well-rounded person and to interact with others. And so I'm going to give this oh my gosh, what am I going to give this? I'm going to give this um one giant whistle of 3 blind mice over and over again.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I'm just going to there it is. Where were Worf and Raffi again? At the beginning of the episode after the title card, Picard asks Geordi about Worf, and Geordi says that he and Raffi have been observing Starfleet security at Exoport and confirmed there was no report of Riker in custody. So they're off, probably flying the La Serena around.
There you go. Right. Yeah. Because la means the.
I know, and it annoys me when other people do it, and then I unthinkingly do it. I'm like, yeah. So that's where they are. Yeah. Okay. So this episode, I enjoyed. There's that frustration that I talked about like, oh, it's just raising questions and blah, blah. And I know that's the nature of the story they're telling and stuff. But I think this is the first episode in a little while that hasn't quite been at the level of the previous episodes, if that makes sense. Like, I still think the episode where they escape the nebula is my favorite, but the episodes following that were right around that same level. They were right there. This one drops a little bit for me, but
And that's okay.
That's okay. It's not even really a comment on the episode per se, but probably the quality of the other episodes, really. Like, they just set such a high bar. This felt a little bit more. I mean, there's a lot of really good stuff in this episode. The data and lore stuff is great. Amanda Plummer is just gold in any scene she's in. And then the moralizing and the debates like that, I find that stuff really interesting. I think that's why we have Star Trek. I think that's why I enjoy Star Trek. But yeah, it didn't quite come up to that same level for me. So I'm gonna give it one Chintaka scrapyard. You know, it's
Yeah.
just it's kind of there. My
I
ratings
I
don't really
still
make sense in this context, but whatever.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Your ratings don't have to make sense. They're personal to you and you alone. It's fine. I do find it funny. It's something that I noticed a lot in this episode is they still say dead in the water
Mm-hmm.
when they're talking about a, a ship that is just dead.
Yeah.
It's like, why would people outside of Earthlings use that phrase?
Yeah.
Just saying. Just one tiny niggle.
There's a lot of that in Star Trek. It's
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's a 25th century setting, but it's a 21st century show. It's fine.
it's fine. It's fine. Just a tiny niggle.
Yeah, I get it. But yeah, we've got next week the episode is called Surrender, I believe, episode 8. So closing in on the final few episodes here. So I'm excited. I need some answers. I don't know that we're going to get them because there's still 3 episodes to go, but you know, how many hours are we before Frontier Day now? It's got to be like 2. Like
Hmm.
we're getting really close. What's going on here?
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Uh,
pretty sure it's going to start within the next hour, but by the next episode.
Only a few short hours away. That was like 2 episodes ago. No, I'm just kidding. But feels like it.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited for some of these things to pay off eventually. Hopefully that happens sooner rather than later, but then you've got to fill the next few episodes. So I don't know. But yeah, we'll see you next week, I guess. You can find me on the Positively Trek Facebook group. That's the best place to interact. I'm still on Twitter, not checking it too often, but at Kurtrats, and of course the Positively Trek podcast with Barry DeFord. And Brandi, where can we find you?
Uh, who wants to find me?
Oh, we all do. We love you.
No, I meant that. Who wants to find me? And you're all shouting, me! You can find me on Twitter at Brandywine12, and you can also find me at Mastodon at Brandywine at ravenation.club. Yes, I can actually remember it instead of having to
Nice.
write it down this time. And maybe someday I will have a new podcast episode or something go up. And if so, you'll find out on those platforms.
Well, we need to talk about, I think the final issue of the Strange New Worlds comic, the Illyrian Enigma, has come out. So I think I need to get you on Positively Trek to talk about that soon.
I would love to.
We should definitely do that.
We should totally do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us. You guys are awesome. We really enjoy this. This is a highlight of my week. And we love you all. Thank you very much. Live long and prosper and all that good stuff.
And live logs and proper.